Well, good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are. It's great to have you on board with us today. Welcome to our webinar, where today we're going to be exploring accounts receivable and how that is impacting your inventory and distribution businesses. Really pleased today to have you with us, wherever you're based. It's good to get together and have some conversations with you. In terms of the agenda, you'll see that they're looking forward to exploring accounts receivable and just how we can expand and extend your ERP solution to better manage that whole quote to cash process. We're joined by a number of individuals today to support us with the webinar. We've got Graham Bowers from Easy Collect. We have Wendy Jones from Streamlined Solutions Bookkeeping, and of course myself. Without any further ado, I want to hand over to Graham. Graham, great to have you with us.
Thanks, Stephen. Really appreciate the introduction. Thanks everybody for joining today. Really appreciate your time. I know everybody's a little bit time poor, so for you to give up 45 minutes to an hour, we hope that we can give you some very relevant tips, tricks, and some background information that may help you going forward. So what are we going to be looking at today specifically? Well, we all know the effect of tightening credit. We know that we are living in different times at the moment, and the effect of credit on accounts receivable and cash flow we're going to examine today. How automated solutions can help you streamline your processes and really just generally make your business more effective and more productive. And Stephen will talk a little bit about that later, about how your partnership and how your advanced and or EXO system can do a little bit better for you. I'm going to go through some tips and some best practices, and Wendy will allude to that as well when she goes through her case study on just how you can make your accounts receivable process better and how you can reduce your risk and basically get money in the bank, and how a modern payment portal will improve cash flow and efficiency in your business. Wendy will then go through a case study because I think it's relevant in these times also to be able to show you in the real world how receivables automation can really help you as a business. And I think Wendy will show you how that will be more impactful for you. So basically today, I'm not going to be doing what quite often these webinars do and go through screen after screen after screen, showing you demonstrations of a product that just really sometimes gets a little bit tedious and boring and it just zooms through. We're going to take you through some practical insights and strategies for managing your cash flow and getting those overdue invoices turned from an overdue balance in your accounts receivable into physical cash in your bank account. So most of you will know this, but the impacts of tightening credit on cash flow in a business are very, very impactful. I've been in accounts receivable, I've been in payable, my background is in accounting as well as ERP systems. So I know that the big problem with cash flow is always stress. You're chasing overdues, you can't get money in, people are calling you for cash, you need more inventory and stock. So it's a very stressful time for everybody in a business when you can't get money in the bank. You'll find as times tighten that customers use you as a bank of last resource. So somebody that used to pay you at 30 days suddenly is paying you at 45 or 60 or even 90 days. They used to be really good customers, but now they're having trouble receiving money, so they use you as a bank. What's the flow on from that? If you can't get money in, then you can't pay your suppliers. So people are starting to put you on stop credit, or you're just having to get an additional overdraft facility just to meet your commitments. And then you find you've got a disproportionate amount of people in your business that are chasing overdue accounts. And so rather than focusing on making the business better, on solving queries, on getting product or services out the door, you've got a disproportionate amount of people just chasing money and managing things like slow moving stock and excess stock. So, inventory management is suffering because of it. People aren't focusing on the ERP to get the most out of it. Everybody's trying to just get money in the door. And of course, that leads to the worst of all worlds, where customers that you know and thought you knew turn into a bad debt because you're not across the risk of them, you weren't aware that they were going bad, or you've basically onboarded a new customer that there was not enough due diligence done. So you've basically onboarded bad debts, and that's never good for a business. So all this leads to customer relationships being damaged, because if you can't afford to pay for new stock, then you can't ship goods. People are querying invoices because mistakes are being made. So then your business starts to be impacted with bad customer relationships. And of course, did I mention stress? All of these points add to a very, very stressful situation in an organization. So what can we do then to automate a lot of this process so that we manage it in an efficient manner so money starts coming in the door? Stephen, I'll pass to you now if you want to just go through what it is that a modern ERP system can do in terms of inventory process, in terms of benefits to the customer, and what they might get out of an ERP system that potentially they're not getting today.
Absolutely, that's a great introduction, Graham. I think in terms of our ERP systems, it's really important for us to look at how our whole quote to cash cycle and understand what we can do in terms of improving the efficiencies around that cycle. Often we see that ERP systems are put in place. You might have had your ERP system in for 2, 5, 10 years, but not really reviewed the processes around how that operates and how that supports your customers in terms of that whole quote to cash proposition. You'll see here in terms of a few of the points on the slide. One of those first essential areas is just that point of inventory. Do you have the right inventory in the right warehouses at the right time to support those customers? There are some really simple things that we can do within MYB Extra or MYB Advanced to manage that inventory procurement process, to reduce those risks of stockouts, to reduce those issues related with excess stock. And it's really just about reviewing your systems and processes and ensuring we're taking a best practice approach to managing that. The ERP system can support you in really improving and managing that inventory, and as well supporting that process around how you issue invoices and the timeline of which you actually apply invoices, take deposits, and ensuring that your collections are being received as quickly as possible to delivery of goods, or even in advance of delivery goods as possible. So let's review our processes, making sure that we optimize every opportunity to automate, every opportunity to actually bring an improved customer service level. One of the things we recommend to our customers is actually look at your competitors, look at what they're doing, look at their experience in terms of e-commerce, explore what the likes of Apple and Amazon and organizations like that are doing in terms of their whole quote to cash process, and see what you can do in terms of leveraging off some of those ideas, some of those concepts, to bring some efficiencies within your organization. Of course, overdue invoices, excess stock, are two of the biggest cash impacts to our business. If we have the wrong stock in the wrong warehouses, or too much of that stock, that's dead money, just sitting there, essentially costing us and costing the business. If we have overdue invoices from an AR perspective, again, that's money that should be sitting in our bank account. So the biggest opportunities I think that we have in terms of cash flow optimization is those two elements in an inventory business: excess stock and accounts receivable collections. If we can improve both of those, we can have a significant impact in terms of how we support our growth trajectory. Are your customers and suppliers the best that they can be? It's a really important question around particularly our supply chain processes. If you're finding increased risk around your supply chain, if their promised lead times of 30, 45, 60 days are being extended out to 90, 120 days, that means you're having to cover excess stock within your warehouses because of their inefficiencies. Are there ways that you can work with your suppliers to increase their efficiency, to reduce lead times, to reduce that risk to stock and stock counts within your business? And of course, in terms of your customers, often it is about ensuring that that customer onboarding process is as efficient as possible, that we're onboarding them in a way that really cements that excellence of service that we're trying to present. But in the same way that we're being aware of their risks, we're being aware of potential risks to our business in terms of their cash flow. What's that process that we go through in terms of authorization of accounts? What's our processes around credit control, and ensuring that they really are to scratch in terms of management of risk within our organisation. Of course, it is about continually reviewing our business model. Things have significantly changed. Are we embracing e-commerce? Are we embracing opportunities around perhaps credit card payments? How are we managing that sort of B2C, business to consumer or business to business model in ensuring that we're actually getting the biggest slice of that pie that we can for our organisation? Now, Graham, I know you've had a significant amount of experience around sort of ERP solutions, around how working with small and medium business in terms of optimizing their processes. What would be your biggest takeaway in terms of how an organization, can self-reflect and take some steps to move forward?
Look, Stephen, thanks for that. I think what I have found in the many years of building systems, selling systems, running businesses, is that it often surprised me how much businesses have tied up in old inventory, slow-moving inventory, and overdue accounts. And you sort of have to explain to people that suitcase is full of $100 bills that are just sitting on shelves or sitting in an accounts receivable ledger that look, they're just numbers, but really at the end of the day, it is cash in the bank. That every piece of inventory that you have that is slow moving, unnecessary, not needed, not only takes up shelf space for inventory that you could be using to sell and faster moving, it's also reflected in customers that don't pay you, and it all is cash. And that was always my advice to business owners and to business managers, is you have to look at it as don't go out and get more facility. Don't go out and mortgage your house to get a bigger overdraft so you can pay your bills. Focus on turning what you've got into cash. And overdue accounts are the biggest one, because as they drag out, the number of people that don't chase invoices of $200 and $300 and $400 because they're concentrating on the people that owe them $5,000 and $10,000, not realizing that they might have $25,000, $30,000, $50,000 in small invoices, but nobody's got time to chase those. And as I said, I've worked in accounts payable. I can always find a reason not to pay an invoice. If I see a dunning letter that's coming through, I know no one, or an email chasing me, I know no one's really trying to chase me, so I don't pay it. And because it's $520, no one chases it. So this is why you constantly need to, I think, review your business model constantly. And sometimes you need people with outside eyes, like Easy Collect, like Kilimanjaro, to come in and say to you, there's more modern ways. The world's changed. There's a better way of doing business.
That's great.
How can we automate receivables to manage your risk so you're not onboarding bad debt, you're looking at your current customers, and save time? Well, the easy way to do risk now is because there's so much information available in the marketplace, we create digital credit applications with credit scores which actually apply metrics. So when you onboard a new customer, you actually can credit score them. You can check that the directors are the directors of that actual company. We're actually working with ASIC now to even be able to track Phoenix directors. So that the best thing that ever happened was the directors' registration. So the people that burn one company and then join another and then burn that company, we can stop that. Not only can you use these metrics for new customers, but you can also use these same metrics for onboarding your existing customer base. Just because you've been dealing with someone for 10 years doesn't mean they're going to be in business in a month's time. I watch, you look at the news every day and you look at the number of large organizations. I'm based in Victoria, so there's not a day goes by where you don't see another construction company go broke. Whereas if you're monitoring those companies and you're looking at how they're working in the marketplace, you can tell that they're not only not paying you, they're not paying anybody else as well. So that's a red flag that you can immediately take action on and either stop supplying them or maybe get some of your inventory and stock back. And so you can you can use information and you can use metrics that are available through Easy Collect to help you manage your book better. Other automations is payments accepted on sales invoices are written back automatically into Advanced and Exo. So it's important that you can take payments from anybody at any time of the day or night. It may come as a surprise to realize that 25% or more people transact outside of 9 to 5. Well, if you're not there to take the payment, then they won't pay you. So we put pay now invoices, pay now buttons on invoices and sales orders and statements, making it easy for people. There's no barrier in the way of paying you. And we also allow people to get past the block, which was the classic accounts payable reason was, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have a copy of that invoice. Would you mind sending me a copy? Now, for all of you sitting here in this meeting who've joined, who are an accounts receivable, I can't see you, but I know that at least 50% of you have your head in your hands going, no, please, not another copy invoice that I have to go into the system, generate a PDF, email it to these people when I know full well that they already have the invoice. This is just a ploy. Well, with Easy Collect and the self-serve portal, they can download their own copy invoices. So again, it saves you time and you can just refer them to that. And then automated collection processes. So remember I said to you, a lot of people don't chase $200 and $500 and $900 invoices. Well, the automated collection process with an Easy Collect goes through the process of sending out tailored email communications, putting all the invoices that anybody owes you in one email, so you're not sending out 15 dunning letters for 15 invoices. It'll move past emails. It'll tell you when a phone call is necessary. It'll send an SMS. It'll even log into Australia Post and generate a letter for you if that's what you need. And of course, then it'll go on to debt collection at the end of the day if you need to. But with Easy Collect, we don't ever want that to happen. The other thing with the portal is it allows easy feedback. A lot of people do have genuine reasons to query an invoice. What you need to do is get that query sooner rather than later. And Easy Collect will, 5 days prior to an invoice being due, send out a reminder saying invoice 4578 is due. And that stimulates a number of things. One, people will genuinely say, I don't have that. Or two, someone may say, oh, I'm not going to pay that because I have a query. How many of you in this room don't hear about queries until the invoice is 60 days overdue, and then miraculously someone says, oh, I'm not paying that invoice because I didn't get those 5 tables, or you didn't, you said you did 10 hours of consulting and I only saw you on site for 6, so I'm querying that invoice. But they don't do it when they get the invoice, they do it 60 days later. Another clever accounts payable trick for those of you to know these things. So you want easy feedback from customers. And then the one thing, please remember this, if you take out one thing from this webinar, no one owing you money is ignored when you use an automated collection. If they owe you $10 or $1 million, they're treated the same way, the same process. The objective is 0 days late, you owe me the money, pay me the money. And I'll have a little bit of a further look about that a little bit later on. So what are some tips and tricks that you can take out from this? If you don't use Easy Collect, that's fine. I understand you may not have a great deal of overdues. I'm assuming you're here because you want to know more about modern automation systems. So what are some tips for optimizing? Well, the 3 secrets to receivables are the squeaky wheel. When I first joined Easy Collect, I said, we need to be the squeaky wheel. And everybody went, sorry? Again, those of you in AR who are chasing money know that if the customer knows you're not going to chase them, then they will pay other people in preference to you. So the squeaky wheel gets the oil, and it's the same in accounts receivable. If they know that you're not going to forget that you owe them money and that you have polite insistence and persistence using automation with follow-up emails, follow-up SMSs, follow-up phone calls, they will go, oh, if I don't pay Wendy, she won't forget, and then she will continue to call me. So pay Wendy, pay Stephen, pay Kilimanjaro, because they're not going to forget that we owe them money. So the first secret is never let a debt slip by. Always be chasing. Calls are the key to building relationships. We'll get 30% of people that will pay just with automated reminders. We call them the low-hanging fruit. 70% will pay on the second or third reminder, and nearly all people will pay with a follow-up phone call or an SMS, because they realize that there is no escape. They owe you the money and they will pay. And use credit data, use the credit scores. And I'll show you this in a minute when I show you what the credit score screen looks like and what it all means. And then 25% of payments, I've already discussed this, are made after 5 p.m. So never put a barrier in the way of payments. Always have a way where people can pay you easily whenever they want. So with Easy Collect, this is the dashboard that you would see when you open it every morning, and it'll give you task lists. And when you call and you'd like a further demo of this, we'll go into a lot more detail, but I'm not going to. I know time is precious here. But you can see straight away what your value of your overdues is, what percentage they are. You can drill down into customer detail. You see what your overdue is. You get a lot of dashboards that immediately give you and the management a snapshot of what the business looks like in terms of your overdues. In terms of risk, you get another dashboard which gives you a green, yellow, and red score. These are very good. If a customer is green, it means they're paying you and they're paying everybody else, so they're in good shape, continue to trade. If they're paying you but not paying everybody else, they're a sort of watch and monitor, because you're either the supplier of last resource or you're mission critical to them. So they're going to pay you first always, but they're not paying other people in the marketplace. So that's a bit of a worry. If they're paying other people but not paying you, this is a very interesting one. That alludes to a relationship problem, and you can then pass that over to the sales team and say, why is it that they're paying everybody else but they're not paying us? And these are the sorts of things that metrics start to tell you. They might not be paying you because your invoices are wrong. You shipped late, you shipped the wrong goods. The relationship is starting to sour. They're looking for another supplier. And we all know that once we lose a customer, it's almost impossible to get them back. But if we get in early enough, there's a good chance of saving a customer. So again, it's interesting, isn't it, how accounts receivable metrics can actually give you an insight into how your customers are tracking. And of course, then there's the really bad one. They're not paying you and they're not paying anybody. And they're the ones that you need to take action. And you put in real-time monitoring. You can see if a director resigns, if they change the business, if they're trying to change their ABN, and all those sorts of things that give you that classic, maybe 3 to 4 months notice of them going into liquidation, where you can take some action and try to get paid or try to get inventory back. So what are some tips? You need to keep communication timely and relevant, and that's what automated workflows do. Dunning letters don't work. People can see them for what they are, system-generated letters that people will say to you, oh, I don't need an automated receivable system. My system sends out letters. But honestly, they don't work. They really don't. People can recognize them. There's no nuance to them. There's no, you can't adjust them. And every invoice usually gets a Dunning letter, which ends up being in spam. Summarize communication. And again, that's what an automated system can do. We remind customers what's due, but at the same time, we say, oh, but by the way, these other invoices are coming due as well. So every time you communicate with a customer, do it in a summary form. Don't just respond and say, you owe me this money. Say, you owe me this money for this invoice, but also these 5 other invoices are due in a couple of weeks' time. Make communication humanized, and with Easy Collect, you can do that. You can have different letters for different groups of people. I put in a system a couple of years ago, and somebody said to me, "Oh, I'm a bit worried because a lot of our customers have been with us for 35 or 40 years. They're all in their 60s, and I really don't want to be sending out letters saying, 'Hey, Bill, your invoice is due. You need to pay this now.' I need to be able to say, 'Hey, Bill, it's fantastic you've been with us for so long. You've obviously overlooked this invoice. Would you mind paying this by next week?' So you can get a definite nuance in your communication. And believe it or not, we've even got an AI process sitting in there. So if you don't know what to say to a different group of people, you can say, I want to be informal and I want to write to these people, and the AI will generate you a letter that you can send to that group as people as well. So again, make it humanized. People deal with people. Always remember that. Just because we're automating this process, it doesn't mean that it's not human. And use the data that we give you to assess the risk and avoid onboarding bad debt customers. You'd be surprised again when I was in business, the number of people that have credit applications that just go, "Oh, just give us 3 references," and they check those 3 references. And I say to people, when you last went for a job, did you actually tell them about the one that you quit because the boss was terrible and you walked out, or do you give them the 3 references that you did a really good job? And it's the same with credit references. They're never going to give you a bad reference. So use metrics to make sure you onboard the right people. And don't add barriers to payments. Have a multi-tiered payment options for your customer. So they're the sorts of things that automation helps you with, making sure that these tips are always embedded in any collections that you do. And never forget, you've provided goods and services. You are entitled to be paid. There is, we didn't go through, and Wendy and I think very similarly. A sale is not a sale until the money's in the bank. Salespeople can come in and say, "Oh, great, I achieved my target last month. I hit $100,000." And you go, "Yes, but we've only got 42,000 of that in the bank." So always remember that you're entitled to be paid, and a sale's not a sale until the money's in the bank. That's the finalization of the transaction. So without further ado, I will hand over to Wendy, who will actually show you how this works in the real world. Thanks, Wendy.
Hi, thanks, Graham. Some interesting points, and honestly, I couldn't agree more. I own my own business and was brought in to Globe Parts to change their processes to improve cash flow and basically turn the business around. I've used Easy Collect before in another company, and funny story, when I first met one of Easy Collect, Jane, I met her probably 12 years ago, and she tried to sell me Easy Collect, and I did I'm so good at my job, I do not need someone to collect accounts for me. Turns out I am still very good at my job, but I can't be everywhere all the time. So I do find that Easy Collect does help you, through automation, lets you get to every client or every overdue customer when you can't. So I do want to talk about a few results from the current company that I have been helping, which is Globe Parts. And I did share a little bit of good news story this morning that our debt collection rate at this morning is at 99% in the current. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. In an accounting world, the green, is good. And my little pie chart this morning is so green. When I first started, we started using Easy Collect 12 months ago, and we were at about 37%, with about 25% in the red, so overdue, some of them 2 to 3 years old. We entered into a few payment plans. We got on phone with our clients to see what we could do to help them. And over this 12 months, just by constant nudging and constant reminding, and yes, it does get annoying. I know that it gets annoying, but it gets the job done. At the end of the day, as Graham has said, a sale is not a sale unless it's paid. Cash is king, as they say in our world. So Easy Collect has proven itself time and time again. The lessons that you can learn in reining in your receivables is that we can afford to grow our business. We're not constantly looking behind chasing our tails. We are looking forward at what we can, bring to the world of windscreens next. We can improve our inventory. We can extend our range. We can actually improve our sales by bringing more money into the bank, investing into our stock, basically. Sorry, Graham. Does it really save time? I cannot say this enough of how much time it not only saves our accounts team, but as Graham touched on before, I do not have to contact our sales team at all anymore to say, you made that sale, where's the money? We put our stock credit on very quickly now. I believe everyone has the right to a credit, in our company, but the minute that you abuse that or don't pay on time, we revert our clients directly to COD. I'm happy to sell to you, but you will pay us before we send out the products, and it's actually reduced our exposure to bad debts exponentially. My team have a task list set out every single day. In your task, it tells you who needs to be rung, it tells you who's been emailed, and we follow up every single phone call with a follow-up email to basically just to go over what has been talked about. The payments are written back into our ERP system, which is actually invaluable for us because we used to do manual FPOS and the dockets would go missing. No one knew who the money was for. I've still got an overrun of those now, but the minute the payment is done, the sales team knows immediately whether that payment has been successful or not, and the sales and the stock can be sent out straight away. I love the fact that all of our directors have got to log into Easy Collect, and they log in every single day to see how their business is running. They can see how much is overdue, which helps with the cash flow as well. They can share in my excitement of my pie chart, my colour pie chart, the greener the better. And I think it's just it just gives everyone the transparency of what's happening in the system. The COD collections, as we send an invoice out to clients, I've tailored our communication rules for different collection methods. If we need to send out an invoice, but we need to get it paid first, our team sends the communication rule that I've actually enhanced and done, tailored, I should say, so that person knows, just click on this link, pay your account, accounts is update sales straight away, and that product will be to you within the day. It's so timely. I honestly cannot recommend that part enough, and our staff love it, and so do our clients. We have happy staff, happy clients. So the instant COD collections is definitely, very good with the pay button. It's on our invoices, it's on our email reminders, it's on our statements. It's in big red writing, and I class mine as a client portal. So our clients think they're getting something for nothing as well. So look, it's not just, somewhere you can pay, it's somewhere you can see your past invoices, download statements, do a reconciliation, as Graham says, at 11 o'clock at night, which I often do, work overnight time. I don't want to have to wait to ring someone to say, send me a statement mid-month, because I want to get ahead of myself. I can go in, download the statement, do a reconciliation, and be ready for the next day. So definitely some great points in Easy Collect. We have a high transactional volume rate. We probably on average would raise, and this is high for us, 400 to 500 invoices a day. And I would say about 70% of those are paid. Actually, no, that's probably a little bit high. Maybe 50% of those are paid COD. Our invoices are sent out at the same time every day. I think consistency from my clients or for my customers is so important. They all know at 10 o'clock every day that they are going to get their invoices bulk emailed to them in one email with all the PDF attachments attached, so that they can download them at any one time. And as I said, this is something now that used to take us at least 40 minutes in Exo to do, because the running through of printing emails and sending emails is a line by line transaction. Whereas Easy Collect, I just set it off in the background, and I don't even know it's gone. I don't even have to set it up. It's automatically set up to send at 10 o'clock every morning, and we can ad hoc send as we need to, which is also very important if someone decides they want an email straight away. So yeah, so the high transaction volumes, I do not even notice statements going out anymore. That was also a manual process. They're just sent to clients. We get almost emails back straight away from people requesting copy invoices. I now reply to those clients, educating them. Did you know that you can actually log in online and get your own invoice? I never hear from them again unless they need to speak to me about something else. So it's about education that, you know, that we do need to change with the world. And online is now the new way of the world, I believe, in automation. But as Graham says, still with that humanised element. I change my messages monthly so that people don't overlook what they're getting. If you get a statement message that says the same thing every month, you will stop reading. So every now and again, I'll add a little, I don't know, a little funny or a little picture or a little something that people just go, oh, it's not what I got last month. So that's my little tidbit, you know, of my little bit that you can take away. But as Graham says, to me, my motto, and all my staff will tell you, I'm going to get it actually tattooed or T-shirts printed, that you know, a sale is not a good sale unless it's been paid at the end of the day. You can have the biggest sale on the planet. If you do not get the cash for that, you have not made the sale. It just isn't, unless the cash is in the bank, it isn't the sale to start with. And I can talk for
Thanks,
this today. I warned you.
You've got Wendy and I today, so we've actually put aside 4.5 hours for this. So, so now we've got you. We're just going to talk to you for as long as you can stay online. So, thanks, Wendy. Look, to everybody attending, I think it's very relevant that you get to talk to someone who actually uses the process of improving their cash flow using an automated system. You know, it's very relevant to have someone talk in the language that is every AR person's language, and to know the benefits that Wendy's getting from this. So Wendy, thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Graham.
So just to recap quickly, and then we can move on to Stephen's summary. Automation and risk management will do a number of things. It'll reduce your overcounts by 43 to 70%. So it's statistically reliable, and as you heard Wendy say, she's at 99.9% collected. So if you use the system correctly, if you use the system incorrectly, you will still get benefit. It's just automation is the way to go, so you become the very polite, insistent squeaky wheel. Reducing the risk on new customers and existing customers, I really can't stress that enough. It's so important in 2024 that you don't assume that the people that you've always dealt with will be in business next week, next month, or in 6 months' time. You constantly need, it's sort of like, you know, performance reviews for employees. Every 6 months you sit and you look at them and you go through it with them, and have you improved? What do you want to do? It's a sort of a reverse version of that. Are you still a good customer? Are you paying on time? You're not paying other people in the marketplace. That's a worry. That's a concern for me. I better relook at you. And most people don't know when their big customers go broke until the day that the liquidators send them a letter. Improve your cash flow and your business efficiency. We have a mission which is 0 days late. For that side of it, we've introduced now direct debits, which are completely controllable from within our portal. We believe that every customer should have a direct debit when you set them up. a lot of people say to me, oh, but my existing customers, I don't think will do that. And I go, great. So when you onboard a new customer, you say, hey, we'd like to give you credit. We'd like to do business with you, but our terms of payment are a direct debit, and it's all controlled within the portal. You don't have to send emails or phone calls to banks. It's all controlled within the portal. It sends out a reminder. You can delay it, you can pause it, you can obviously someone's going to call you and say, oh, you sent me the letter, the direct debit's coming out next Thursday, that's my payroll day, is there any way you can push that back a few days? And you go, certainly, all controlled within the portal, so we get 0 days late. So that's our mission. When an invoice is due, we go and get the money, and it gets written back into advanced, it's done, it's paid. So a lot of efficiency there from direct debits. Underpinning that is automated payment plans. So if someone is in strife, how many of you here, and I know you can't answer me, but have put a payment plan in place and said to somebody, okay, you owe me $10,000, what can you afford? I can give you $1,000 every 2 weeks. The first 2 weeks comes up, they pay the 2,000. The second week comes up, they pay the 2,000, and then after that it just stops. And and because no one's on top of it and watching it and looking at it, whereas with Easy Collect, you put a payment plan in place, they pay the first, they pay the second, then they stop, and then all of a sudden there's a big red flag in the air that says, these people owe us this money and there's no money coming in. So you can't overlook, you can't forget things. And of course, take away your cash flow stress. You reduce your inventory, you get better inventory, you get your receivables down, you get cash in the bank, and the stress goes. I'll pass over to Stephen now just for a quick summary, but that's me done. And this is the Q&A part of the section, so I'll pass over to Stephen.
Fantastic, Graham. Thank you. And thank you, Wendy. Some really good input there. Always great to hear from somebody on the coalface. Great to hear, Wendy, how you've actually really helped turn around that business in terms of their cash flow. And if you've got everything in the green on Easy Collect, you're certainly doing something right. So that's great to hear. Just reflecting on your feedback there, Graham. If I could just add, I think let's take the opportunity to also review that whole quote to cash process within our businesses. If you've recently put in your ERP system, you've probably tried to fine tune that on the basis of your current requirements, your current customer requirements. If you put in your ERP system some time ago, there's probably an opportunity to really look deeper at that and ensure that it's really fit for purpose in terms of how it has been configured and how it's been implemented to suit your business processes. We encourage a business process improvement where you actually get a consultant out, work through your processes, and see what you can do to improve those efficiencies. Just another point that I'd like to highlight. It's amazing the disconnect that sometimes we see between the sales focus of an organization and the accounts receivable focus of the organization. More often than not, your largest clients who are getting your biggest discounts are often actually the worst payers. And often there's a real opportunity to make sure that you're leveraging early payment discounts, that you're actually offering rebates and discounts that are based on appropriate payment terms. So let's review that together. Let's look at how we can actually get some synergies between the sales teams and the finance teams and ensure that we're getting rid of that bad debt. Now, look, we've got a whole bunch of questions here. So I'm going to start to hit you up with some questions, Graham. We will make the final call for questions. So please hit that Q&A button if you have any final questions to raise. Now, firstly, Graham, how is the integration done between MYB Advanced and Easy Collect?
It's a very simple process, Stephen. It's done through the Advanced API. If you're already using the API for e-commerce, then and you're using the free API and you're as an advanced customer, you will need the full API license, which has unlimited calls. We liaise with Kilimanjaro, and they take 2 or 3 hours and to set up the tokens and the API in your system, and from that point on, it's a process that takes probably 2 to 3 weeks. It's not a long implementation period. We use the API. We get data from that. It tends to sync once a day, but you can sync as many times as you like. So I like to put that as a scenario of people, if your AR person is away for a week and no one's posted anything, then you might want to finally get things up to date and not wait till 2 in the morning. You want to push the sync button now and get everything done so that Easy Collect has all the correct information. Using the API, we use advanced as the source of truth. So all the data that we ever need comes out of the ERP.
And just while we're on that, of course, MYOB has a very similar integration. We're using the MYOB API. There's a number of customer endpoints that are used with that to make sure that we've got a really tight integration between those two systems. So both work very effectively. Now, a very similar a question that expands upon that. How long does it take to implement Easy Collect?
Usually it takes 2 to 3 weeks. Now, it doesn't take, as all projects, it doesn't take 2 to 3 weeks, but by the time we've done the training, the implementation, set up the API, done the testing, done some more training, make sure that everybody's on the same page and everybody's happy with the process, usually the process is 2 to 3 weeks.
Now, Wendy, maybe just expanding upon that, there's always a lot more to these sorts of things than just the implementation of a new piece of technology. It's actually about educating the customers and taking them on that journey of, hey, we're going to do things differently now. How long what did that look like in terms of your implementation of Easy Collect?
So the testing phase, we kept our database in a testing phase for about 3 weeks, so we could make sure that nothing went wrong. Within that 3 weeks, I communicated to every customer, whether they'd bought from us in the last 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, and just let them know that things were changing, that our credit applications, which Graham did talk about, our credit applications were changing, our lines of credit were changing, and what they would see from us would be different. The invoice format is not very different because it's using our own templates, but I wanted to make it different because otherwise if they just got the same thing, as I said, people tend to stop reading, tend to stop looking. So yeah, we just advise clients of the change. It's not going to be scary. It was all for good. And it was to help our clients. We had a lot of unhappy clients, and we've now glowing reviews, honestly, of how easy it is to use, how much information they can get when they want to get. So I think, I think clients are the big winners at the end of the day, and that's what we're in business for, I believe, is to make happy.
Absolutely. That's great, Wendy. So, Graham, do we know straight away if someone has paid?
Yes, we do. All payments are done in real time. This is particularly relevant for sales orders because sales orders are one of those weird things where people obviously want to get prepaid, right? That's what paying on a sales order is all about. You've put in a purchase order for us, you don't have an account, here's a sales order, please pay now. The moment people then go into the portal and pay that through the Easy Collect portal, you are advised in real time that the payment's been made. My recommendation to people every time I sell Easy Collect is please then talk to your partner, Kilimanjaro, talk to one of Stephen's team and say, this is really great. Easy Collect have written this sales order payment back. What can you do? And my recommendation is, talk to Kilimanjaro and get a little trigger made. So when the sales order is paid, it automatically creates the pick pack slip and sends that down to the warehouse and automates the process completely. So the warehouse doesn't have to wait until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning when people then apply the cash and transfer it to an invoice. And why wait 5, 10, why wait a day? Tell the warehouse. So this is what I mean about, you involve the ERP in the system. Don't just say, oh, well, this has automated the payment. What little bit more automation can we do to make the process totally complete? So it's an immediate, you get an email in your email box in accounts telling you it's been paid, and then the write back is done in real time as well.
Maybe just to add to that, Graham, I think that's one of the strengths that we see as almost a byproduct of Easy Collect is if we're automating the integration of customer onboarding in terms of their credit applications, those customers, those debtors get automatically created in your ERP system. If we're automating the process of integrating payments, that means that payment flows straight through into Exo, straight through into Advanced. The application gets automatically made. And if you've got a large volume of transactions, it's actually amazing. There's just the sheer time savings that you can get from that. We've had examples of customers who've had sort of 5 or 6 people in their accounts receivable team. And a lot of that work is just purely around data entry of payments, creating of applications, processing a bank statement, all of those really manual processes that EasyCollect can really just do away with in terms of time. So if you've got more than one accounts receivable person, it's almost a no-brainer just in terms of the time saving. Another question.
If I could add, sorry, Stephen, if I could add to that as well. And look, for those of you who are interested, if you scan that QR code, then it'll give you all my details and I can set up a demo for you and I'll go into a lot more detail. But also with the payment portal, and again, I'm talking to all you AR people who are here at the moment. What is the worst scenario that you can get? It's a part paid invoice where no one gives you a remittance and no one tells you what invoice it's being applied to. 2 things happen. 1, you end up with all these unapplied payments in your ledger, so nothing, it's a complete and total mess. Or 2, you guess that they must be paying the oldest invoice, when in reality, when they pay through the portal, the customer has to tell you what invoice they're paying and what amount they're paying against it. So if they don't pay it in full and only pay $500 off of it, they might have just picked the latest invoice. That writes back to the correct invoice. I can hear a collective sigh of relief from you all going, really? I don't have to scavenge around looking for remittance or email them and say, what are you paying? And it gets to the right place. You don't have outstanding payments. You don't know where anything goes because the customer says how much I'm paying on which invoice. So big time saving on that one, Stephen, big time saving.
Yeah, and that's another question here. Are EasyCollect source payments automatically applied to the correct invoice in MYB Advanced AR? And the answer is absolutely yes.
Yes.
You heard it here first. You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. See, I must have been on the same wavelength as that person.
Obviously. Now, can the pay now option also be applied at the customer statement level, i.e. to match payment terms of that customer at a total or part statement level? And in essence, the answer is yes. When you go through the payment portal, you can actually apply a payment across all of the outstanding invoices. There's a really simple way to do that in the payment process. Do you want to expand upon that, Graham?
Look, and again, I'll go into more detail when we talk one-on-one, but the payment portal will detail every invoice that is currently either due or overdue, and it's very fair that way. It says, here's all the invoices that you owe. You can click a pay all button. You can go. Customers never do this. They never say, oh, I have a dispute for $82 on that $4,000 invoice. I'll pay the balance of $3,968. They go, oh, no, I've got a dispute of $68. I'm not paying that $4,000. Yes, great. But if there was a customer such as that who actually did just deduct the bit that was in dispute and paid the balance, then not only can they pay that, they can also put a note in EasyCollect saying, hey, I've paid invoice 4187. I've short paid it $82 because I didn't get that particular service or that particular stock item. But no matter what they decide to do, and they can pay by EFT, they can pay by credit card. Obviously, direct debit will automatically go and take what's due, so they don't have to do anything. So weirdly enough, a lot of I sold a system to a food company recently whose customers were desperate for a direct debit system because they couldn't get the goods shipped until they'd paid. But if someone was away sick and they just happened to be out of the office and down in the warehouse doing something, the invoice never got paid. And they went, oh, fantastic. So you're just going to take what I owe you when I owe it to you, and that'll never stop me getting my goods on time. And you wouldn't think that. You'd think that was counterintuitive, wouldn't you? But the customers were really happy that they didn't have to bother worrying about paying you because you did it for them. So a lot of flexibility on the payment side. Yep.
Yeah, that's great. All right. How does the credit matrix of customers get produced? So I think we're talking about the credit risk scores here, Graham.
We have an agreement with Ilion, which used to be called Dun & Bradstreet. So they rebranded themselves Ilion. which I find surprising given that it's a 100-year-old brand, but that's a story for another day. They have a lot of metadata that everybody provides, and we also provide that non-identifiable metadata on customers and their payment. Out of that, Ilion then produces a score from all these millions of touch points that says these people have paid on time, these people haven't, this invoice was 60 days due when they paid it. We then take those scores and we run that across your book, and we rescore your customer based on those points plus what they're doing with you. And then we can give you a good update on what your customer metric really is. Because the customer metric for the other million may not be completely relevant to your book. So we match the two and give you a metric for your customer, which is how we get those reds, oranges, green flags in the dashboard.
That's great. What level of data security exists within EasyCollect?
EasyCollect works in Amazon Web Servers, so we've got all the security of that. In terms of payments, we back-to-back it with merchants, so it's all PCI compliant. So we never touch the money. The money doesn't ever flow through EasyCollect. The money never actually flows through the merchant. The money goes from bank to bank. So your financial institution, you might be within AB and you're paying someone at Commonwealth Bank, the money flows from bank to bank, but it's PCI compliant at the merchant level. In other words, bank credit card details and all those sorts of things are very, very, very secure. EasyCollect does not hold any financial credit card details. It's all in a PCI compliant space.
That's great. Now, you mentioned the fact that you were doing some work with ASIC around directors and phoenixing and those sorts of risks. Do you also work with the New Zealand Companies Office to identify problematic directors in New Zealand? Yeah,
we work. EasyCollect is a AUNZ. I mean, it's also a US based. We have a US system and version as well, but the AU and NZ is very, very similar. We work on the New Zealand business number and we work on the ABN in Australia. That's the source of truth from us. And from that, we pull out of ASIC all that relevant data. The Phoenix companies, because the ASIC is, I don't think it's got the full rollout yet of the directors' registration numbers, but once we're working closely with ASIC to make sure that once that's done, we'll be able to track directors as well. So that's going to be a very powerful addition to it.
That's great. And one final question here. What is the cost of EasyCollect?
EasyCollect is based on the number of active debtors you have. Now, what an active debtor is not a customer, but it's the number of customers that have a balance at the end of the month. So if you look at your age trial balance at the end of April and take out zero balances and you go down and you go, oh, I've got 470 debtors, then that is the price for EasyCollect for 500 debtors. So for an advanced customer of 500 debtors, it'll be about $1,100 a month, which gives you all the monitoring, all the metrics, all the workflows and the payment portal. You can unconnect the scores and the risk if you want and just have the workflows. As you say, I'm happy with my customers, I just want to chase money. So you'll get a reduction, and for 500 debtors, it'll cost around about $850 a month. So say $850 to $1,200 is the range for the 500. If you've got more debtors, if you've got less debtors, then there's different plans available. So we can discuss that. But as a range, that's usually where the advanced ERP fits, same as EXO.
Fantastic. Well, look, I think that's it in terms of questions. So thank you, Graham. Thank you, Wendy. A great session. And of course, thank you to our audience. Some really good questions there that have come out as a part of the session. Of course, to learn more, do just feel free to scan that QR code or reach out to your account manager at Kilimanjaro or using that email address. We'd be more than pleased to support you with any questions that you might have, to provide you with a copy of this webinar, and also to introduce Graham and look at some further, more detailed demonstrations so you can get a bit of a better glimpse of how it will work within your context of your business. Thank you all. Thank you, Graham. Thank you, Wendy. Have a fantastic day.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time. Thanks.
All right, bye.
Bye.